Well, welcome everybody. This is the Silver Duke of Edinburgh Assessed Expedition first training. So hopefully using this Zoom call, whether you're on it live now on Wednesday evening or whether you're watching it later, combining this talk with the documents I've sent you, then hopefully you'll have all the information that you need to get ready for your Silver Assessed Expedition. So just go through what the plan of action is for tonight. Yeah, just to mention to you the chat box. So you've all done lots of Zoom calls, so the chat box is there. Do add your questions to that. I won't be able to answer them until the end. But if you've got any questions that go through, please do put them in the chat box. Then want to talk about what's expected on your assessed expedition, and that starts off then with being the DofE 20 conditions. So I just want to remind you of those. I want to make sure that you're all prepared for what you need to do and therefore to pass. What you need to be ready for your expedition. So your first aid training, your route cards and your maps come in there, what equipment and kit you need, and then we'll answer any questions that are in the chat box. So aim of the assessed expedition, the big aim is that you successfully complete your Silver DofE expedition in 3 days, and at the end of the assessor says, well done, you've achieved your Silver Assessed, and then they write an assessor's report for you, and you then upload that onto your eDofE account. I'm also hoping it will inspire you to go on lots of other journeys. We're running some canoe journeys for the people that live in my village, and there's loads of people signing up for those. So hopefully there's going to be lots of people after this will want to go on and do lots of other journeys. Maybe in a year or two's time, you'll think, yeah, I want to do my Gold DofE, and I want to do it in Scotland or Sweden or wherever it is we're allowed to do it then. And of course, we want the expedition to be safe, secure and social. Having been locked in for so long, I can't wait to get on the river and start doing expeditions again. And no doubt you all feel the same. But having done them successfully last summer, where we had the same COVID restrictions, we're fairly confident we can run them in the same way that we ran them last year, safe and secure and social, which I think you're all longing for. So this is your Silver Assessed expedition. To successfully complete a DofE assessed expedition, you have to fulfill the DofE 20 conditions. Just want to go through a few of those. We've done these every time we've had a meeting, and we go through them with you, but it's really important now you planning for your assessed expedition that you realize if you don't keep the 20 conditions, then there is a risk that your expedition may not be your final DofE assessed expedition, and the assessor may say, I'm really sorry, but for these reasons we've not been able to pass you. We've only had a couple of groups where that's ever been the case. We always give you lots of warning. We always say, unless you do this, then. So you know that one of the things we always say to you is about having your buoyancy aids done up. If you're near the river, the buoyancy aid is on and it's done up. And we had a group last year who kept on not having their buoyancy aids on and done up. And in the end, along with a whole load of other things, not being able to put their tents up, not putting their tents up when they asked, lighting a fire, all sorts of things. We unfortunately, they did so many of the things they didn't do right that unfortunately they weren't able to pass. So just going through some of these ones that we've highlighted, your team must plan and organize your expedition. So that's one of the things we're going to be going through today. Is part of your planning is doing your route planning. And even though for your assessed expedition, there's only 3 days that you need to do a plan for, because it's only 3 days, at the end, the assessor will want to know what role you've played in the expedition. So it may be that you didn't do part of the route planning, somebody else did that, but you did something else. So you need to be able to say at the end of the expedition what you did. If you can't say what you did, then the assessor will question whether you took an active role in the expedition. Expedition must have an aim. We'll talk about aims when we do those, but that's really important. If you don't have an aim, then you can't complete your expedition. Okay. Silver is a minimum of 3 days, 2 nights with 7 hours of planned activity. That's really important, those 7 hours of planned activity on the first 2 days. So it may be that you paddle faster or the river takes you faster, or even when you're planning it, you go at more than 4 kilometers an hour, which is what you kind of do just about. If you're going to get there early, then you need to have something else planned. So you could go for a walk, look on your map, go for a planned walk, go and visit the pumping stations, go for a walk around a nature reserve. But you need on the first 2 days to make sure that you've done 7 hours of activity. Okay, really, really important. You can't just paddle slowly. It needs to be planned activity. Number 11 there, participants must be trained to safely undertake a remotely supervised expedition. And at the moment, I know that we haven't completed for your Silver all of the first aid training, and that's why we're giving you some more first aid training for you to do before you come on the expedition. But again, just to emphasize for any parents on the call, it is a remotely supervised expedition. So we're not with them all the time. We meet them at certain places going down the river. And certainly on the first day, they go through lots of locks, and we will be with them going through the locks, getting them to do it, teaching them how to do it, but we will be supervising them going through the locks. Next one here, expeditions unaccompanied, self-sufficient and properly equipped. So if you turn up for your expedition and we've trained you and we told you what to bring and you are not properly equipped, and therefore we say to you, well, if you haven't got what you need to have and it's chucking it down with rain and we think you're going to get really cold and therefore really ill, we may have to say to you, really sorry, but it's just not safe you coming. It's not fair on your group if you're going to get cold and miserable because you've not got the right stuff with you. So really important that you bring all the kit that we say that you need. It is self-sufficient, so even though on your assessed expedition you'll be going through St Ives, you'll be going through Huntingdon, you can't stop and go shopping. If when you get to Huntingdon to start with you realise you've forgotten something, you can always go into Sainsbury's when you get there and buy what you need, but along the route you can't do that. Number 14 there, teams must possess the necessary fitness, first aid and expedition skills to complete the expedition safely. So you do need to be fit enough to be able to do it. You can take a long time, that's not a problem, but you do need to be fit enough. And you need to have the expedition skills. So you need to be able to put up a tent and you need to be able to cook on a stove and all those sorts of things. But seeing as you've all completed your bronze expedition successfully, and therefore you're training for your silver expedition, none of that should be a problem. You've just got to put it into practice. Final one here, groups must adhere to the mobile phone policy. Yep, so if we find you on your mobile phone doing Facebook or phoning your parents or something else, mobile phones are only to be used to communicate with us because we're the people that are going to be able to deal with whatever the emergency is. Number 18, you should plan and cook appropriate food each day. We gave you training and you brought food on your practice expedition. We've actually done some YouTube videos, which I'll give you to the link to, so that's a thing that you can now start doing, is planning the food that you're going to cook for your expedition. I know it's difficult now to plan what you're going to eat in June, but it's something that we want you to begin to kind of think of. And because we're still going to have COVID restrictions, you will need to plan to cook individually, and so to bring your own food individually. And then finally there, participants must do a presentation after the expedition. I'm going to suggest that probably you do that to your form tutor, because people do a much better expedition if they have time to get their photos together and to prepare it. And then you can do it to your form tutor in school, and they'll then write a report or send you an email to say that you've done it. So that's the DofE 20 conditions. If you keep those, that's what the assessor is assessing you on. And at the end, they will then debrief you and say, congratulations, you've completed your 20 conditions and you have therefore completed your Silver DofE assessed expedition. If you don't keep them, then the assessor won't be able to pass you. So we warned you. Parents know as well. We don't want to not pass people. Of course we want you to. We give you lots and lots of warning. But if you don't do what is safe, if you don't do what the 20 conditions say, then we don't have a choice. Okay. So what do you need to do to be ready for your expedition? So we're doing this training now, so you've got time to get organised and to get it sorted. So just coming down on my screen here. So this is the things that we need to go through tonight, and that then over the next couple of months you need to start sorting. So there's some first aid training you need to do. We need to get your route card sorted. You need to get your maps laminated and marked. You need to sort your kit out, make sure you've got everything and got it organised. You need to plan and buy your food. You need to pack your kit ready for expedition, and you need to get to the start on time. So what's the plan? Okay, so first aid training. We gave you some very practical first aid training on your silver practice and training, but we're really pleased that British Canoeing have given us the permission to use their first aid training e-learning. Okay, so in the letter that I sent you, and I'll resend it to make sure that everybody's got it, you'll find that there's the link to the British Canoeing e-learning, and you'll start off by choosing the option Teach Me, and there's a whole load of stuff there and really practical what might go wrong when you're canoeing. And British Canoeing have put it all together, and it's really related to canoeing. Once you've done that, hopefully you'll have learned it, you can then tick the Quiz Me, and at the end of that you will end up with having completed the quiz, and we hope getting a score of 10 out of 10. If you haven't got a score of 10 out of 10, no problem, you just go back and redo it. What's then really important is you then save that PDF. Okay, so you either take a screenshot and you save that as a PDF, and you save it under your name. So for me, Joy Martin, First Aid, because then when you come to send all your groups route cards to me, you will send all of your first aid to prove you all done in your group, your first aid training. What we don't want is 62 separate emails with 62 proofs of first aid. So we'll get an email from each group, including all your routes, your 3 route cards, and then the first aid proofs from each group. So you need to save it under your name. I have explained that in the letter, but hopefully that makes sense. So what happens now? Route planning. This was a group who had one girl had her 18th birthday party when they were on the River Severn a few years ago. Route planning, you need to know where you're going to start and where you're going to end and where you're going to camp. So I want to go through it in a picture form, but it is also on the letter that I've attached to you. So you're going to be starting in Huntington Riverside Car Park. That's a really convenient place because it's a nice big place for you to sort your kit out. It's also easy for those of you coming by public transport because the bus station isn't that far away, and it's easy. Okay, so it's nice and big. So when you get there, you'll help us unload the boats. So you'll take the boats off, you'll get your boat sorted. You'll then make sure your kit's packed. So you need to bring your kit organized so it can quickly go into the barrels. So you've got the stuff that you know needs to go into the barrels. You'll have a day bag with the stuff that you need for the day. And then you might have an IKEA bag if the rest of your stuff doesn't all fit into the barrels, with stuff that it doesn't matter if it gets wet. So you'll pack your barrels and then you'll set off downriver. And it's a beautiful first day going down from St Ives to Erith. You actually go through loads of locks. So we'll teach you how to use the locks. But we will be at the locks with you to help you go through them. You then go under St Ives Bridge, really classic old-fashioned bridge, and then you will end up camping by the river at Flatbridge Farm. Now, I know there's some people who started at it. We had a group who, in order to fit you in, you did a bit of your training that started at Flatbridge Farm. So you will have already camped there. It was a horrible, well, when we got there, it was raining and it was a very cold, wet night. It was probably the worst DofE night we've ever had, very windy and very wet. And you guys survived that, so well done. Thank goodness the next day the sun shone and it was better. So you'll go from Flatbridge Farm, where you'll cook your tea, hopefully as tasty as that one. And then you'll paddle down river. It's called the Old West, even though it's going east, because it used to flow west, and you'll end up where you'll camp next to the river. Okay, and again, camping will be individual. I'll send out an email and letter later in the beginning of next term for those of you who want to borrow equipment so that you can book that. We'll have a Google form and you can decide, you can tell us what you need, and hopefully the school will provide that for you. You'll end at Chesterton, so it's a really easy place to end, and we'll make sure that parents know what time to get there, so that you'll be staggered arriving, so it's easy for us to debrief you, get the boats on the trailer, and off you go. So that's the route, but you now need to, because it's your assessed expedition, do your route cards. Okay, now and route cards are done as a group. And I am aware that some people are not in groups yet. If you're not in a group yet, then you'll need to do it individually. Okay, it has been really difficult trying to get groups sorted and dates sorted, but hopefully we're nearly there now. I know there's one group that's we're still just confirming when they're doing it. So if you're not sure when you're going on expedition, do wing us an email. And if you're not sure of your group number, then again, email me, because what we want you to do is to complete your route cards as a group. Okay. On your eDofE, there is what is called e-mapping. So if you log on to eDofE, and then you will go to a section which is called mapping. And what's really good with this section is it produces your route card for you. I'm not going to go through how to do it on the call tonight, because we've done a YouTube video where I talk through it really slowly, and you can stop and you can go back and do it. But what does happen is when you get to the end of it, you're able to produce a route card like this. And on the route card, you can then put the name of your group, so you'll know what the group number is. You can add that there. You'll also be able to give your group a name, put the name of it in, and number it, okay? But the key thing that's also there is that you have to put what your group's aim is, all right? The aim is a really important part because it's part of the DofE 20 conditions, but also you then do a presentation on it. So just to really encourage you, make it practical, okay? So make it taking pictures, make it doing something, make it collecting something, make it, so you could do pictures of bridges, you could do collecting, taking photos of flowers, you could do looking at the wildlife, make it enjoyable. We've had people do yoga going down the river as well. We actually had them doing that walking, but make it something interesting. But whatever you do, make it so that you can easily turn it into a presentation. And if you can link it with your studies, if it's something you're interested in, if you're interested in architecture or history, the history of the region you're paddling through is phenomenal. So you're starting off in Huntingdon and then you're ending up in Cambridge. And the river that you're going along is the river that all the traffic used to go, because it was the fens and you couldn't go across the fens. But as a group, you need to decide your aim. If you at the moment are individual, you can decide your own individual aim. When it comes to the presentation doesn't have to be done as a group. If you can't get your group organized, you can do your presentation as an individual. So once you've done that, okay, there's a worksheet and a video. So we've tried to cover all our bases so that you can really clearly work out how to do that. Once you have done your 3 days, what we then want you to do is to save those route cards and then email them to us in one email. So one email with the 3 route cards as PDFs, your group number. So JOA, let's say your group 1, JO01. This is day 1, it's your first day, you're assessed. So we then have a whole load, because there's lots of groups. We know exactly which group it is and what they're doing. So you'll send us the 3 route cards and you'll send us all the first aid proofs from your group. And we want them in for Sunday, the 11th of April, which gives loads of time, hopefully over the Easter holidays, for you to get that sorted. It's only 3 route cards, so you can spread that out amongst your group. So that's the route cards. We'll send you the YouTube, we'll send you the worksheet, and hopefully that will all make it easy for you. We've had a gold group complete that so far, and they seem to find it straightforward. So hopefully you'll find it straightforward as well. All right, kit. So getting ready for your expedition. Just as a reminder, we've also done a YouTube kit video. We had fun during lockdown getting these YouTubes done. Do subscribe to our video. I'm not sure at the moment I've worked out how you to leave comments, but hopefully you'll find them useful. So the videos show you what you need. There's also a video on how to remind you on how to pack your boats and all those sorts of things. Do check, I know we're talking June, and hopefully the weather will be absolutely glorious. If you haven't got a poncho and you look at the weather and it's going to be raining or it's going to be cold, really, really, really recommend the ponchos. This is a gold group in August, actually, and they were so pleased they'd got their ponchos because it really did keep them dry and warm. You can get them from Decathlon, and they're only a £5. So we'll send, the kit list is on the Dropbox, and the link to the YouTube is also on the letter that's in the Dropbox as well. Cooking ideas. I think cooking on DofE is one of the most fun pits, or cooking on expedition is, because you've got lots of time to sit around and cook. So again, we've got lots of YouTube videos to give you lots of different ideas, depending on what you enjoy, for you to then cook some really delicious food, right? And remember, that is one of your 20 conditions, that you cook an appropriate meal each day, right? So they're the things that we're wanting you to begin to start getting sorted now. Okay, what I'll do is I'll have a look in the chat box and then see if we've got any other things coming up. I hope I can get the chat box up here. So to summarise, do I need to have the first aid done? Yes, you do need to have the first aid done by the 11th of April. Our group can't make, okay, so you can ask that question. There is a group that can't do the 4th to 6th of June, and they want to know if a group can swap. So if you can, then please let us know, because Claire and her group would be delighted to be able to move to different dates. Yeah, it's been really difficult. Lots of people wanted the 25th to the 27th of June. So how are the groups made? People are telling me, Ali, which groups they want to go in. So if you're not in a group, then I'll put you into a group with somebody that's on the same dates as you. So there's a few people that are not, they aren't in a group yet. So I will put you into a group once we've got them sorted. Yep, doing the presentations in school, because it's much easier to do it that way. Yes, they're allowed to take photos on their phones, but they're only allowed to use their phones to take photos. Ideally, if they can get hold of a, you know, one of those throwaway cameras, it's better than using phones. Young people find it very difficult to not do anything else with their phone but take photos. Yes, your EFD, you need to email Shelley in order to get your login details if you're at CAST. Anyone, I've got no, just to re-emphasize to you, I can't do anything as regards eDofE. DofE see it as a conflict of interest. So I can't access your eDofE passwords or numbers, or I can't see them. So Shelley is the person who's taken over from Jen, and her email address is dofE@cap.education. So hopefully that will help you. Yeah, if they're stuck on bronze, you need to communicate with Shelley. She's the person who can help you. Yeah, you need to talk with Shelley. She's the person to help you if you've got any issues with eDofE. So Dropbox is a way of sharing documents, and you can either get that on your phone or you can download it onto your computer. I think if you click on the link that I give you, it will then enable you to do that. Okay, I think there's a couple of messages I've not read, but I'm not sure that I can see them. So I think, is that all the messages? Anybody else got any other questions? Really happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Sorry, could you just repeat the things that...
We just stopped the recording.